Good afternoon. Welcome to the Orlando Sentinel's editorial board interview with candidates for the 9th Judicial Circuit Judgeship, Group 5. We have with us today Joy Goodyear, who is a Windermere attorney with 25 years experience in the public defender's office. And we also have LaShawnda Jackson, who is a partner with Rumberger, Kirk and Caldwell, and it was the first Black president of the Orange County Bar Association. So two very distinguished careers here, and we are going to look forward to hearing their views about the office that they are seeking. And so we'll go ahead and start with our first question. The phrase judicial temperament is often used to describe those qualities that a good judge should exhibit in the courtroom in particular. Which of those qualities do you believe is most important, and which will you emphasize if you are elected? And we'll start with Ms. Jackson.
Thank you. I served actually on the Judicial Nominating Commission for 5 years, where it was our job to vet candidates who applied for positions that wanted to be judged and appointed by the governor's office. I can tell you from that experience, one of the great things I've seen from the candidates that came through and who are now judges in our community, temperament is one of the great things that you can have. I think it is a great quality. But I'm the type of person who a lot of people know me and they know I'm to the point. I am firm, but I certainly respect everybody's position. I think you're going to need somebody who is going to be able to command the courtroom, to get the respect from litigants. You're also going to need someone who's hardworking, someone who can be efficient. The dockets are pretty excessive here in the Ninth Circuit. I think that is somebody with some organizational skills and skills who can manage large caseloads. I've been able to do that, having upwards of 300 active litigation files, and managing a team of attorneys, paralegals, and other staff members, I think makes me uniquely qualified for the position. I also think that somebody who can relate to people. I'm certainly one of those people. Someone who is community oriented. It is a job that requires us to interact with the community, litigants, not only that, lawyers. And those are all qualities I believe I have and that I would put to best use.
Thank you. Ms. Goodyear, same question.
Yes, I think judicial temperament is extremely important. I think the judge is the one that sets the whole tone for the courtroom. And I think compassion and empathy are the two most important things. When people come to court, most of the time it is the worst day of their lives, or they're there to discuss the worst day of their life. And I think they can come in, they can be nervous, they can be overwhelmed. They're not accustomed to the system. And while we may be in court every day, they are not. And I think if we show them that we're there to listen, we're there to help them, we're there to resolve the issues, I believe is the most important thing. Because even though you can't always rule in their behalf, if they feel like they've been heard, the issues have been discussed, and that they feel like they've gotten their day in court, at least they can feel better about the result. So to me, it would be compassion and empathy, and of course, fairness, that goes without saying.
A recent decision just in the last little bit by the Florida Supreme Court could weaken restrictions on what judges can say or hint about their political affiliation. What's your view of this decision, and is it changing the way that you campaign? And Ms. Goodyear, we'll start with you.
It definitely will not be changing the way that I campaign. The judicial branch is supposed to be impartial. It's supposed to be nonpartisan. Politics are not to have any place in the judiciary. And I think if we start discussing that on any level, we're going to mislead voters. If we're talking about issues that aren't relevant, they're going to think they are relevant. So if we start saying, oh, we're this phrase or we're that phrase, or this is our political view, they're going to think that that means we can pursue those interests from the bench, which we cannot. It is the legislature that enacts the laws. We as judges can only apply the law as it is currently written. And that's what I would always do. So in my opinion, I would like to think the system's going to stay the way it's been all these years, where it's nonpartisan, judges are fair, they're impartial, they're not out to seek their own agenda, and they're there to apply the law as it's written, no matter what their personal beliefs. So I do think it's important for people to get to know the candidates, to look at their experience, to look at their demeanor, to look at their temperament, to know who they are. But I don't think politics have any place in a judicial race.
Great, thank you. Ms. Jackson, same question.
I am not a politician, nor do I ever pretend to be one, nor do I have a desire to be one. I am running based on my experience, based on my career, and based on who I am, and not letting that change this election or this race. I am going to be a judge who is fair and impartial. I am going to be a judge who is going to look at the law and apply the facts, nothing more, nothing less.
Thank you. I wanted to move into kind of along the same lines, but circuit court judges are required to oversee many different kinds of issues that are very high stakes. Lawsuits involving millions of dollars, criminal cases that could result in long periods of incarceration or the death penalty. What is the best way for a judge to reconcile personal beliefs and faith traditions with the need to be impartial in these weighty decisions?
We all are a product of our personal experiences. But as a judge, my role would be to put aside my personal opinions, my personal beliefs, and again, I have to rule on the law. I will take the law and apply it to the facts, and that would be the decision that I make.
Ms. Goodyear?
I completely agree. Your personal beliefs and feelings have no business of affecting your decisions in court. I think that being a public defender for 26 years, this has come up quite a bit for me. Of course, as you can imagine, I've represented many different kinds of people, and there are people that sometimes, personally, maybe it would be difficult to represent. However, that is my job. And that is the duty that I fulfill. I strongly believe in our system of justice. And I believe that if I do my job to the best of my ability, and the state attorney does their job and the judge does their job, that justice will be served. And I've seen that actually happen in practice every day. So as a judge, it would be the same exact situation for me. I would not allow any of my personal opinions to affect what I did. I would do my job. I would do it fairly. I would listen to the facts. I would make credibility determinations, and I would apply the law as written. I'm not going to sit there and allow some personal agenda of mine to affect any ruling I ever made, because that's not my responsibility. And if I did that, I would be damaging the system that all these years I've protected.
If I could jump in, I have a quick follow-up. I wanted to ask you both, and this is very tightly tied to the issue, I guess, but I wanted to ask your opinion on recusals and how that sort of ties into your job as a judge, because I know sometimes there are personal conflicts, as you mentioned. And Ms. Goodyear, just as a follow-up, if you would tell me your policy on recusals and how you feel about them.
I feel the parties are entitled to a fair hearing. So I feel that if there is a basis for someone to feel that they're not going to get a fair hearing in front of a particular judge, that they should be recused. That's why we have that process. I haven't seen it abused. I think that it's a good system. I'm into transparency. If I ever knew a party or knew something that I thought would somehow affect my opinion and I couldn't set it aside, I would just recuse myself. I am not opposed to recusals, and I'm sure there might be times when it's been abused, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it myself.
Thank you. And Ms. Jackson, same question.
I cannot tell you how I would rule on a specific thing. I do believe the ethics rules don't allow us to talk about what we may or may not rule on. I can tell you again that I am going to look at each case, each facts. And a lot of times it's not so much that there is any type of bias or there need a recusal. It's about the appearance of impropriety. And those are things that I'm going to look at. I believe in the justice system. It's not a perfect system, but it's the best we have. Yes, it could be better, and I will work on making it better. And so to do that, we have to allow, if there is an appearance of impropriety, if there is something that affects a case, that it could affect a case that's not based on the merits, absolutely I would consider it, and absolutely I would not have a problem recusing myself.
Thank you. I'd like to shift to the question of resources. The Ninth Circuit is huge, and one of the busiest court systems in the state. And one of the ways that many courts have dealt with the competing needs is to establish specialty courts that address certain kinds of situations, DUIs, people who have problems with addiction, and a separate court that is more of sometimes called a treatment court or problem-solving court. Where do you see opportunities for Orange County and Osceola County to expand these problem-solving courts? What would you advocate for if you were on the bench? And let's start with Ms. Jackson.
First of all, I'd have to see what the need is or what we're dealing with in Orange and Osceola County. I can't come out of the box and say, okay, I think this court would be better. It's what are we facing? What are the people in this jurisdiction, the litigants in this jurisdiction, what issues are they having? I know that there are a lot of great resources. Veterans Court. Veterans is something that, we highly need help with. As the president of the Orange County Bar Association and spending so much time on the executive committee, we had lots of veterans programs. We also had disability programs. And so there are resources out there to help, but it's just going to depend on the need. What is the overwhelming need within the court? I can't say that from looking on the outside. I know that there is a big push on mental health issues and dealing with those kind of things. I know one of the judges who it's her passion, and she works diligently to do that. If she needed my support, I certainly would support her in a court like that. So I can't say, I think they're great, the specialty courts and things that can help the citizens. That's what we're here for. That's what the legal system is here for, is to address the needs of the people in our community. And so I'm for any court or any specialty court that is going to help the people.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Goodyear, same question.
I am a huge proponent of specialty courts. They take cases off of the main docket. They relieve the larger docket from those huge case numbers. In addition, they allow the judges to target special areas of concern and areas that underlie the criminal behavior that we're seeing. So one court that I know we already have, and I just speak volumes of, is the Veterans Court program. I have clients where they are, charged with a crime. They've been a veteran. They go into Veterans Court. They're given a mentor. A lot of them are homeless. They're being allowed to live at the domiciliary. They then are given substance abuse. They get doctor's appointments. They see them every 2 weeks in court. A lot of times it's on a Zoom hearing, and they follow up. Have you made your doctor's appointments? Have you done, how's your housing? Did you get that job you're applying for? What applications did you turn in today? Those are the issues. That's the follow-up that's taking place. And it is amazing. I truly believe those are the best courts. And if it was up to me, I would see an expansion of homelessness. A homelessness court specifically targeted to that, I think, is what we could really use.
Speaking of resources and such things, this is semi-related, but I wanted to know what you guys' view is on the availability of adaptive technology and the availability of people who are either hearing or visually impaired, or language services other than English? I wanted to see where you guys think those are doing well and where you think those could be improved. And let's see, Ms. Goodyear, we'll start with you.
I think we could always use more interpreter services. We have a lot of people that don't speak English. We also have a lot of people that don't speak other languages. So I think an expansion of that, I know in criminal court, they're entitled to an interpreter, but my understanding in civil court, a lot of times is that they have to call someone from the back of the courtroom or someone from out in the hallway to come in and provide those services. And a lot of times you don't want a stranger coming in and finding out the details of your case in order to help you. So I think the more we can get funding for that, the more we can expand that, the better. I also think a lot of what we can do is provide information ahead of time, ahead of the court hearing in different languages so that they can be prepared and see it and know what to expect and know what's going to take place. Because once they get to court, we're already at a certain point. So it's important that they understand ahead of time what we can do. I know there's also deaf interpretation. I've had clients that are deaf and had someone come in and interpret for them. So I know those services are available. And I think the more we can do that, the better. There's also a phone number that sometimes we can call that has like 100 different languages, and you can give them a headset and they can talk to them. Now, the problem is those systems aren't perfect. I have a policy for all of my clients that are in custody that I visit them every week. And when I have a client that doesn't speak English, that is very difficult. So normally in my first appointment, I schedule with an interpreter. That's when I'm giving a lot of information. But after that, I have to make sure that I still go see them. And I can't have an interpreter there for all those visits. So I end up relying on like Google Translate and stuff like that. So any kind of technology that we can use, I know it's not ideal, but if we can get that working in people's favor to allow access to courts, we're doing the right thing. So I would like to see all of that expanded and improved as much as possible.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, same question.
Yes. When we stop saying we need improvement, I think that's where our system actually goes down. So absolutely, we can always use improvement in our systems. I've actually been fascinated by I've tried cases here in Orange and Osceola County, also throughout the state of Florida. And there are things that are happening in other counties that are not happening here. And there's things that are happening here that are not happening in other counties. But there are some resources. One of the most fascinating things I saw, they do have devices for the deaf where they can put them on people, and it helps them amplify in the courtroom. We have that here in Orange County. A great tool. I've seen it, picked out a jury and had a potential juror who had some issues, who was able then to hear what was happening. We definitely need to explore more things like that. We also need to look at the dynamics here in Orange and Osceola County. Yes, we have English-speaking people. We all know we have Spanish-speaking people, and there are lots of resources for those individuals. We also have a huge Haitian population here in Orange County, but we don't have the resources. We don't have the translators. I remember when I first started practicing 22 years ago, as somebody who was paying for an interpreter, my client was paying for an interpreter, it took forever. There was like one or two in the entire state of Florida who was doing Creole interpretations. That's one of my jobs. If I meet a kid out in a program or in the street, I literally say to them, you should consider being an interpreter. Here's what you can do in the legal system without going to law school. So again, yes, we do need those resources, but we need to expand them beyond what we think are just the common needs in the community when there are so many more.
My next question for both of you is about courtroom efficiency. I know that we all hear about the hundreds and hundreds of cases that are filed pretty much every month in the Ninth Circuit. So anybody walking into a judgeship is going to walk into a massive caseload. How do you maximize courtroom efficiency without sacrificing justice? And let's start with Ms. Goodyear.
This issue is very near and dear to my heart. Being with the public defender's office, we often have very large case numbers, and our representation, I believe, does improve as those numbers go down. So that does have to be a focus and a priority. When I took over a couple of years ago, I took over one docket, and at that time, I think my felony caseload was 150, and I was able to work that down to 70 through my case management techniques. Then I was moved to another docket because there was a shortfall over there, and it had 170 cases. And because I had a judge that was also really into good docket management skills, I was able to get that down to 45. So I really learned not only what I can do and how case management is important, but the part a judge can play in it. And for example, what I'll say the judge I have now, what she does, which is really great, is we have, they have different names, but they're basically case management conferences. You get everyone together, you talk about the case, you talk about where it's at. And a lot of times what will happen at those conferences is you say, oh, we're scheduling depositions. After that, we'll get back to you. The next time you come the next month, often or longer, you go in and you say the same thing. A good judge has kept really solid notes and says, wait, you told me those depositions were last month. Why are we still doing them? And then sometimes with me, I usually have a reason like, oh, the witness didn't show, we had to reschedule them, but it keeps everybody honest. So sometimes you need continuances. Sometimes you're not ready. Sometimes the witness isn't available. But at the end of the day, those continuances can be granted. But you do need to clear up just the unreasonable delay, because at the end of the day, justice isn't served if it's delayed. If witnesses can't remember, it's not going to be as strong of a case, as good of an outcome. So I think it's very important. You got to have organizational skills, and you got to get on top of the cases.
Hey, Ms. Jackson, same question.
Yes. May I recall, it seems like so long ago, but in March of 2023, the legislature passed a tort reform law. And we saw, I think it was one law firm here that filed 100,000 cases in less than a week. And so there are massive amounts of caseload. That was a time period when my caseload actually went up to 300 cases, active litigation files. And the way I was able to manage those is to be organized and to have a plan. I think one of the great things that a judge can do that will help relieve the docket, we got to have some quick rulings. We can't just sit around on emotion for weeks and months at a time. If you give a ruling, that's going to make movement in your case. You're also going to need more hearing time. That's one of the biggest problems I hear from people on the side of the law that I practice and other sides. How can we be more creative? How can we do something different with our hearing times? Because when we have those things happen, things tend to move quicker within the litigation process. And again, it comes with just a plan. Also in 2023, one of the things that the Florida Supreme Court did was mandate that all the jurisdictions have case management plans. There are case management plans. There are no uniform one between all of the counties in the state of Florida. It's different how they practice in Leon County versus Duval County versus Miami-Dade County. I've seen how all of that has been done because I've litigated in all of these counties. And there are things that I think I would bring to the table and implement that helps us move the cases along, or that helps the cases move along a little bit faster in a different jurisdiction.
Thank you very much. I would like to kind of wrap us up by asking one very theoretical question. If you were granted emperor-level powers for the Ninth Circuit court system, what one thing would you change?
Probably, that's hard. Wow. There are so many great things about the Ninth Circuit, and I don't say that because I practice here and I know all of the judges or most of the judges here. I say it because I do believe it. I've seen what's happening in other jurisdictions, and I can tell you we have a lot of great things here. I don't necessarily know that I would change anything specifically. I'd probably work a little bit more to see if we could find some uniformity between, maybe some of the judges. For example, in the civil world, you have several different judges, and their procedures might be slightly different. Some have, great ones, some don't. And so it's very, I wouldn't say confusing, but we get a lot of different things that we have to do. And it frustrates my staff, it frustrates litigants, and sometimes it frustrates my clients because there are so many different ways. I applaud the judges, and most of them actually have their procedures on their website, on the website, which is great. And for those who don't, I would encourage them to put them up there because, again, if we make the litigants' life easier, they make our life easier. So I don't know that there's one big thing I would change, but there are some little tweaks that I think can be done here. But again, I would be at, the chief judge is elected for a reason, and is doing the things I think that are needed and necessary here in the Ninth Circuit to make us even better.
Thanks very much.
Oh.
Ms. Goodyear, same question for you.
Yes, the one thing I would change is it's not so much specific to the Ninth Circuit, as I do believe the Ninth Circuit is doing an amazing job in Orange and Osceola counties. However, the thing that if I had, I think you said emperor power, what I would do is not have or give the courts more discretion. I think we're under a lot of minimum mandatory laws. I think we're under a lot of restrictions where judges often will say to me, I really wish I had another option here, but due to the sentencing structure, I have no choice but to impose this sentence. And I understand why we have those laws. I understand that they do serve a role because we want consistency throughout the state. However, there are cases where I think a judge that's firsthand seeing the facts, getting to know the defendant, getting to know the parties, could say, in this particular case, I have discretion to not impose this. And we don't have that right now. And I would like to see that change if I had the power to do so.
Thank you very much. Well, we have gone through our questions for this race. I really appreciate both of you taking the time to speak with us. And before we ask each candidate to give us a closing statement, I would say to our readers, we will be making an endorsement in this race. It's going to be a tough decision, but we don't want you to stop with just that. We'd like you to look at the social media accounts and websites for judicial candidates. These are such important decisions, and due to the restrictions that judicial candidates have, they can't campaign the way regular candidates for legislature or county office can. So we encourage you to look at both their records and find the judge candidate who best represents your values and who you think will do the best job of administering justice here in Orange and Osceola counties. And I just want to thank both of you for taking the time to be here once more. And with that, I will ask both candidates to give us a 2-minute speech on why they should be the choice in this race. Ms. Goodyear, we'll start with you.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. As you mentioned, it is very difficult for judges to have the opportunity to reach out to our voters the same as other candidates. So I really enjoy a trusted source like the Orlando Sentinel giving us this chance. I have spent my entire career working for the public defender's office. I came from a family where I was the first to go to college. I came from very humble beginnings. When I went to law school, my goal was to help others. That was why I went. I wanted to make life better for the community. I fell in love with public defender's office. I've been there. I've lived in Orange County since the year 2000. Both my children were born at Arnold Palmer before Winnie Palmer was built, and they both attended school here. I've been involved in the community. I've been involved in the Boy Scouts with my son, and I was a Girl Scout leader for 8 years with my daughter. They both went to school here. I was involved with their schools, did countless volunteer hours around the community. We also are small business owners. We own a Planet Smoothie franchise outside of Olympia High School. We love the Ninth Circuit. We love Orange County. We love Osceola County. And I've been blessed, as I said, to be able to help people charged with crimes with the public defender's office. However, I would like to help more people. I would like to help people beyond those that are the poorest and charged with criminal offenses. I would like to help victims of crime. I would like to help those that are involved in civil lawsuits. I would like to help people who are injured. I would like to help people that are embroiled in family disputes, who have to go to court over divorces, custody, child dependency, and child delinquency. And I'm asking you to please give me that opportunity, and I would be honored if you would consider voting for me.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
Hi, I'm LaShawnda Jackson. I'm running for Circuit Court Judge for the 9th Judicial Circuit here in Orange and Osceola County. I was born on the Space Coast, little girl who grew up in the projects who didn't know that I could have a dream to be a lawyer and a potential to be a judge until somebody looked at me and saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. And because of that, I have worked hard. I have worked here in the 9th Circuit in Orange and Osceola counties as a trial lawyer for almost 22 years. There is no one who will outwork me. I believe my experience and my fairness are what makes me unique and qualified to be a judge in this circuit. I am endorsed by past presidents of the Orange County Bar Association, statewide bar association, plaintiffs' lawyers, family lawyers, criminal lawyers. Why? Because they respect and they know me. They know that I am the person who will work hard to be the best judge that I can be, who will serve the 9th Circuit community as I have always done through community service. Most people refer to this as a public servant job. Because I don't think it's a public servant job. I'm going to get paid for what I do, but I'm going to walk away from a very lucrative private practice because I believe in the 9th Circuit. I believe in the judicial system, and I want to represent the people in this community by being a judge here. Again, hardworking, experienced, fair. That's who I am. LaShawnda K. Jackson. Just remember Jackson for judge.
Thank you very much. We wish you both the best of luck, and we will look forward to the August 20th primary.